Hey everyone, and welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined today by Ted Shadow Wiesen and AntDude to discuss all the Kirby news from the recent Nintendo Direct, namely Kirby Star Allies and Kirby Battle Royale. So let's get started. Alright guys, so we gathered some Kirby fans here. We got the usual of Ted, but we also have newcomer joining us with AntDude, and recently found out you're a huge Kirby fan as well, so had to have you on. So let's go ahead and start with you. What's your general reaction to both, I guess, getting a title for Star Allies and its new gameplay, as well as, hey, that 3DS Kirby game is actually coming?
I am super excited. Kirby, the reason why I'm a big Kirby fan is there's a consistency in quality. It doesn't matter what type of spin-off Kirby ends up getting involved in, it's always going to be good. So even though we haven't seen much of Battle Royale, I'm sure it's going to end up being pretty good, and then Star Allies just looks like more of the same, but prettier, and that can't be a bad thing. So yeah, very, very excited.
What about you, Ted?
Here's the thing, I'm more excited about Star Allies because that just looks like a really fun, polished game with a lot of cool stuff about it, but I'm more intrigued by Battle Royale because I think this is technically the first full 3D Kirby game, if we're not counting the Blowout Blast and 3D Rumble minigames. Like, this is technically a 3D game, it's overhead, there's powers, but I still have no idea what kind of game it's supposed to be. I know it's multiplayer, but there's a single-player mode. Like, I don't know if this is like mainly a Triforce Heroes kind of game where there is a single player, but you're expected to play it with friends. I don't know if it's like a battle mode kind of thing. I don't feel like it was explained the best, but it makes it very interesting to kind of look at it at the same time.
Yeah, that's sort of how I feel about Battle Royale. We'll start with that because I feel like there's less to say about it. I've taken a few looks at the gameplay as we go along, and there was a new video that released today as well, showing off a little bit more of it. And the best I can interpret Battle Royale is it seems to be kind of what it is. You battle, but it's also each stage has different goals in mind, where maybe it's you're holding this thing for the longest, or gathering the most fruit that falls from Wispy Woods and gathering it for your side, or just a straight up battle mode. But you can choose different powers, and those powers allow you to attack the other players as well as help you out along with it. So even though you're playing the same battle modes over and over again, maybe having sword will affect things differently than cutter or whatever else is in the game as far as powers. Whip, as we saw, we can grab other Kirbys and toss them around. So I think it's kind of like that, where it's almost like a party game, but it's all based around the battle mechanic, if that makes sense.
Right, in the trailer it says that there are going to be 10 different gameplay modes. So there's the regular arena fighter top-down stuff where you just beat up other Kirbys. There's the one where you gotta gather gems. You gotta, I guess, either team up or maybe do the most damage to a Robo Bonkers. So the variety will be there, and then I don't know how much the other copy abilities will really make a difference in anything that's not straight-up fighting.
I can imagine there being some slight things, like, for example, in the gameplay snippet we see of them trying to collect the cubes, the Whip Kirby is able to grab some cubes and kind of snatch them away from the other Kirbys because he has longer reach. So I'm sure there'll be minor things like that, but it's still... The single player, I guess, is what intrigues me the most, because there's just multiple Kirbys running around now for some reason. I don't know if they'll explain that or if they care that much. They probably won't. But the structure, like, I'm wondering if the single player is going to be like a linear type of game. Is there going to be stages? Is it just going to be like, okay, there's some sort of structure for which you play different battle modes at various difficulties? It's not super clear to me, and I'm interested in finding out more, but I don't know how much longevity the base gameplay will have, unfortunately.
That is the big concern there, is like, okay, it's great that you can play on your own, it's great that you can play locally with friends, and you have that online option as well. I think that'll definitely help give it more legs, but it's just, I don't know much else about it. We got our basics in there, but it's just not enough to really intrigue me, and honestly, I came away from it feeling a little cold. I don't know, it just didn't really do much for me, especially when I have Star Allies waiting in the wings, and I'm obviously super excited for that. But another strange thing is the fact that it's coming out in November for Europe.
No, it's coming out in November for Europe?
Yeah.
Really?
But not until January for the States.
What? It's the first I'm hearing about that.
Really? You did not hear about that? Okay, yeah.
I don't, I'm trying to think about it. The only thing I could think of is that maybe Nintendo of America doesn't want it competing with other 3DS stuff coming out this holiday, but the only other 3DS games coming out around that time that are really major are Mario and Luigi, which is like a month before, and Fire Emblem Warriors, which I doubt people are getting the 3DS version of that game anyway. So, yeah,
and then Mario Party, I guess.
Yeah, Mario Party and Pokemon. And for
Pokemon. Okay, that I wouldn't want to necessarily have my Kirby game compete with Pokemon. That makes a little more sense.
True, but I just looked it up. Yeah, November 3rd for Europe, January 19th for North America.
Oh, man, it's coming out in Europe before Japan.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Normally, Europe gets things last, too, which is...
Yeah.
That is bizarre.
I'm very curious why there's such a discrepancy. I honestly don't know.
Because the January 19th release date made sense for me. It's like, okay, we're going to release this game after the holidays, so once people are done with Odyssey and whatever, okay, then they can buy themselves to the next big game with the Kirby. That seems like a decent time frame for it, but the wait doesn't make much sense to me at all.
Yeah, because, I guarantee the game will not be that different.
No.
Yeah, exactly. All right, and since it's not story intensive, we'll just end up knowing everything about the story within like a week, and we'll just have to sit here and wait for 2.5 months.
Yeah, fortunately, I do have a European 3DS, so I'll be able to try it out and show it off.
Oh, la-di-da. I'm a little jealous.
Yeah, I know. So I'll definitely try it out, and I'm curious. I'm just not sure if I'm excited. I think that's the problem I'm having right now with Battle Royale.
Sure.
That's a good way to put it. I think, you said something earlier about, like, you looked at it and you kind of just left away feeling a little cold. I think I can understand that, especially given the way that they initially announced it, because it was during that, like, pre-E3 Direct thing where they said, okay, we're going to have a new multiplayer action game on 3DS for Kirby, and I think a lot of people assumed that it would be a 2D game, kind of. A lot of people assumed it'd be like Amazing Mirror, actually, with multiplayer Kirbys and something like that. And having this feel more like a spin-off, I guess, must have made some people feel a little bit more ambivalent to the game. Mm-hmm. So I can get that. I mean, it does look like it'll be fine on its own right, but whether or not it's outstanding, I think, is still up in the air.
Well, I mean, this is fairly typical for Kirby. That's the end of the console life cycle. It's a little spin-off that's very experimental, and because that's how Mass Attack came out after the 3DS was out.
Oh yeah, you're right. It did.
So there's throughout an idea. They didn't even really hype it much. It just sort of came out. So besides maybe one more trailer, we're probably not going to see much more about this game. But I think it was after people saw, I think it was called Team Kirby Clash. Oh no, Kirby Fighters in was Triple Deluxe, which was the 2D fighting game. People were like, we really want to see more of that. So I guess this is their answer to that.
Mm-hmm.
I did get a lot of Kirby Clash. Well, not Kirby Clash.
Kirby Fighters.
That one, yeah. There's too many.
Not fighting enemies,
yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, so I think I did get a lot of, like, it's a weird combination of 3D Rumble and Kirby Fighters, and I think it could work. It's just, I'm hoping that it has legs so that I'm not putting it down after 3 hours.
Well, what I'm kind of hoping for the most from it, and who knows if it's actually going to be like this or not, but it would be really cool if it is, basically a Kirby version of Power Stone.
Yes. Oh, that'd be great.
That would be pretty awesome, because it is a 3D arena. You are battling it out in that 3D space, having all these different abilities. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see. But, I mean, don't really have much else to say about Battle Royale, unfortunately. However, fortunately, we do have Star Allies, and yes. I assume we're all a bit more excited for this one.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact, as you mentioned, Ant, the fact that it is kind of more the same. It is following that trajectory that they've had with Kirby games ever since Return to Dreamland. But I still like the new things they're doing in this game.
Yeah, they just consistently throw out enough small ideas. Like, I did not want a fourth 2D Kirby game after Triple Deluxe and Robobot, but they consistently, with each of those games, keep making the games, I guess, subjectively better. I think they've gotten better each and every time. So Star Allies could potentially be the best Kirby game ever if they're coming off of Robobot. So that's enough to have me being super excited.
You know, the one thing I think about this game that I'm looking forward to the most about it is that the team-up abilities are something that you can do whenever the heck you want in a stage. One of the things about all three of the last three 2D Kirby games was that, okay, they had this like big gimmick that was part of some stages and not part of others, and it was usually this big focal point, like the super abilities in Return to Dreamland, the Hypernova in Triple Deluxe, and the Robobot armor in Robobot. And as they kind of went, they made these more, like there were the super abilities, I thought they've gotten better each time, I believe, but they're also still very much like set pieces within a stage, and they're not... While Robobot did a decent job of sprinkling in the Robobot armor throughout the game, it's still, okay, this is a special event, you don't always have access to the Robobot armor, whereas in this game, it looks like you can do the team-up abilities whenever you want. Like, if you have both a player who has Stone and Psychic, you can always have the Psychic person lift up the Stone player and drop them on stuff, which I can assume would make boss fights really, really interesting with all the different combos you could do. So, instead of having, like, okay, you're going to have half a level be normal Kirby and the second half be Hypernova or Robobot, you're just going to have a more free-flowing level design where you can use these really cool team-up abilities whenever you want, but you also don't have to, like if you're playing alone or, you just don't feel like it. And I think that that's going to be really cool.
And the sheer amount of variety that's available to all players now, because I never actually played Return to Dreamland, but as cool as it is to play as Dedede or Meta Knight or Waddle Dee, you're still limited to that one ability the entire time. And the fun of Kirby is trying different abilities. So having it returning to like the enemy system from Superstar is a great idea, because now everybody has those abilities, and we've seen already, thanks to this latest trailer, that they can have those elemental abilities or combinations with their powers as well. So it's really just opens it all up for the possibilities. And that's the thing, as I was doing the analysis, just blowing my mind is just how many powers they're putting out there and just how many potential combinations we could see from this game.
Oh, for sure. That's one of my most exciting parts about this game, because we had the mixed ability stuff before, and people are really talking back about Kirby 64. But back in Kirby 64, the combinations were just sort of a bit of a throwaway, because you can just do them for fun. They didn't really have a ton of uses unless this block specifically needed this one power. Here, they specifically have elemental powers, and then you could just mix it with other physical powers. And for, say, if you can put fire to anything or put ice to anything, like, that sounds really, really awesome.
This is, I think, the way that I wish that Squeak Squad had done this from the beginning, because Squeak Squad's a perfectly fine game. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. But one of the most disappointing aspects about that game is that they kind of touted that, oh, power combinations are back, and then all you can really do is have a couple of elements on bombs and swords, and that's not really super exciting. But the idea that, oh, I can have wind be on sword, but I could also potentially like have wind be on stone, and have that change up the gameplay a little bit. Like, I think that could be really, really cool. You are right in the sense that a lot of the Kirby 64 abilities are not super useful. Like, some of them are deliberately so. Like, I think it's Ice Fire, where you just turn into an ice cube that immediately melts, which is the joke. But a lot of what was that really made that game stand out to me was the imagination on display with all the different power combinations. While it seems like we're going to have some of that here, maybe not to the full extent of Kirby 64, I do like that everything seems like you are right, where it seems like there's probably not going to be anything that's going to be a throwaway power. There's not going to be anything like no combination that you wouldn't want to try just because, oh, I know that this is going to be useless. And once you see the joke once, it's like, okay, but it's funny that I can melt from an ice cube, but does this do anything? No. So, yeah, that's really interesting. Like, it'll be cool to see, like, oh, can I add psychic powers to Yo-Yo? And if you can, like, does that increase damage or range or what? Like, that all sounds really, really neat.
Sure, and some of them seem to be really special power combinations, because you can just add fire to sword, whatever. You can add wind, or I guess it's cleaning, to cutter, and you can make the cutter move. But if you make ice stone, it turns into a curling stone. And if you do cleaning and bomb, it turns into a hot air balloon. So there are definitely some that are more special than others are.
Yeah.
So that's going to be cool to see. Like, I guess the contextual stuff is going to maybe be that, like, the more special power combinations.
And that would make sense. You don't have to. That way, you don't have to think of all these different combinations. But there's still enough variety that you want to have those elementals on there. And it is interesting. I mentioned during my analysis how cleaning offers the wind ability, which would sort of negate the possibility of tornado returning, because I don't see them doubling up on different powers like that. Too often.
They haven't done that since Adventure / Nightmare in Dreamland, when they had like both freeze and ice. So I don't think that I don't think that we'll be going back to that anytime soon, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's actually fortunate. You don't need both burning and fire.
Yeah. Speaking of cleaning, it's amazing how excited I am for that power, because I didn't really. I've still yet to really play Dreamland 3, so I wasn't overly familiar with it. But I also grew up with Dreamland 2, so I have an affinity for the animal buddies. So seeing them like build a superstar like power set or ability set for cleaning and work in the animal buddies, just top notch in my book.
I fanboyed out so hard when I saw this. So far, there's Nago the cat, there's Choo Choo, the jelly, I think it is, and Pitch the bird. And like, if Rick, Koo, and Kine show up, I'm gonna get so happy.
You see, the animal buddies are actually a little bit before my time, because my first Kirby games were Nightmare in Dreamland and Kirby 64. So for me, the animal friends are that one power-up that I never understood how to get that one crystal shard floating above that water level. That one crystal shard, where if you didn't play Dreamland 3, you had no idea how to get that one. Yeah. But still, like, the callback, I think, is just really, really interesting, because I don't think we've seen any of those characters with a decent 3D model, like, ever. Like, I think maybe there might be one in one of the multiplayer modes.
There's a level in Kirby Fighters where they just will pop up as a cameo, and I think in Team Kirby Clash Deluxe they show up too, but that's it.
Yeah, so this is a much more prominent kind of thing, and it also doesn't feel super egregious either. I don't know, I feel like I'd like a game where you actually have the animal buddies brought back, like, in standard gameplay. I would like a way to streamline it a little bit more, though, but I still feel like it could be really, really fun, and just seeing them just puts a smile on my face as well.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just really cool to see, and it's, Broomhatter has a use. Like, it's so cool they took Broomhatter and gave him a power that you can actually get from him this time, or before in Dreamland 3, and once again here. So, yeah, and it just really cool ideas. Like, there's a lot of creativity on display, and I gotta say, this game is looking freaking gorgeous. Like, it has those details that you're seeing that I almost, like, it's not quite Rainbow Curse where it's clay-like, but it's still just has that great cartoony look where it's still a lot of details to it. And like, I was stopped it when they were combining ice and sword, and you could see all the individual fibers on Kirby's hat, and I'm like, holy crap! Like, damn, that looks good.
like the graphics of these recent Kirby games are kind of underappreciated, because people, like, and fair enough, the games are fun, you just focus on the fun stuff, but if, like, you sit back and, like, look at the backgrounds in Return to Dreamland specifically, they put a lot of work into them, and they look gorgeous.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like the 3DS games are also very underappreciated, because I personally think that the 3DS games actually look better than Return to Dreamland, which is on more powerful hardware, so I think that's super underappreciated as well. And everything just looks really, really clean and well constructed. Like, that ball of Waddle Dees that falls down, that made me so happy to see that. Like, I just erupted into a ball of joy when I saw that Katamari Waddle Dee.
Ball of Waddle Dee joy.
Oh, I love it so much.
Yeah, it's that's the thing that I think that's another reason I just get drawn into Kirby so much. It just makes you happy to play. Just such a cheerful series. Yeah, it also has its dark side, of course, which everybody loves to talk about.
Oh, I can't wait what nightmare-inducing backstory we're gonna get this time.
Some just super disturbing monster with a very depressing backstory that only is displayed in the pause menu. Like, so excited.
That'll be great. So actually, we have very little idea of what the bad guy of this game is going to be. Like, Dedede's being manipulated / possessed. Like, no big shock there. One thing I did notice, because I'm watching the trailer on repeat right now, that I don't think you put in your analysis, Mr. GameXplain, is that with the scene where you're fighting Wispy Woods, I believe he also has the same purple aura that Dedede
I
has,
did
so.
forget to put that in there. Like, I was just mainly focused on Dedede. I can't remember if I pointed that out the first time we fought Wispy Woods, but it doesn't matter. But yeah, it obviously does have the same purple aura, which... Okay, we got a common villain manipulating everybody against you, which, guess what? I'm pretty sure that means we're going to fight Meta Knight again.
Oh, for sure.
You know what? People are... Actually, one thing that I've noticed is that I don't think we've seen a single Waddle Dee in this gameplay other than that giant Katamari ball.
Oh, we've seen some Parasol Waddle Dees.
Oh, okay.
And also some of the fake Waddle Dees from the first trailer.
Okay, so then I'm just being dumb and forgetting things.
But, you're trying to point it out to me, trying to show me up. I got you back.
Okay, but, you know, people, like, you're bringing up playing as fighting Meta Knight, but do you think that we will actually get the Bandana D playable mode? Because we got Dedede and then Meta Knight and Robobot.
Ooh.
Do you think we'll get the Bandana D mode with Spear? Because some people have been asking for that for a couple of games now, and, you know, I can't deny and say that I would love to have that as well.
Well, Triple Deluxe had Dedede, Planet Robobot had Meta Nightmare. It'd be nice.
It would be nice. I would not be opposed to that at all, to just see Waddle Dee doing his own thing and just rushing through the levels. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Because there's nothing for him to do in the main story, in the main game anymore, because there's no more Street Pass. So it's not like he can give you out stickers and Max Tomatoes anymore.
That's true.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, I guess he could just give you out the standard thing, I guess, with no Street Pass, but that'd be lame. I'd rather have him be playable.
Yeah. We haven't seen Spear yet as an ability, but it's not. That does not mean it's not there. There's tons out there, and it would fit perfectly in with the whole physical attack being augmented by elemental abilities.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that would be really cool.
So that'd just be great. And honestly, seeing some of these combinations at work are like, they're visually impressive. Like that fight against Wispy Woods where you got that huge fire spin from Whip Kirby. That's awesome, and just how much damage it does. It looks like you can just utterly destroy some of these enemies when you're playing with friends.
Yeah, that's the thing, is I'm wondering how this is going to handle, because if you watch the footage, most of the co-op stuff is done with multiple human players. When you're playing it single player, I wonder how that's going to work to make sure every character on your 4-person squad has fire or something like that, to make sure that you can not break the game as much as you could if you did have 4 players.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting because if I remember correctly, when you're playing for 4, even when you're playing with 4 players in Return to Dreamland, bosses still took a pretty decent amount of health to beat. It wasn't like you were able to beat every boss in 3 seconds. Yeah. I don't know if they changed the amount of health each boss has depending on how many players you had or whatever. But one thing I'm also wondering is that I think that I can't really tell if it's just the strength of the attack or whether or not Wispy has a weakness to fire, but I'm wondering if certain bosses will have elemental weaknesses as well. Like, okay, if you go into the Wispy fight with fire, you're going to do more damage, and if, you know, there's an ice boss and you do bring fire to that, you would do more damage to the ice boss or something. Because that's not something I don't think we've ever really seen in Kirby games, like specific elemental weaknesses.
Right.
Okay, so I'm not... Like, I mean,
no,
yeah,
I can't think of any other.
Yeah, I don't remember it either.
So that would be brand new if that was in place for this one.
And it could work in a way, because another thing I noticed was during the fight against Dedede, every character had a different ability and different elemental association. So it's not like how we saw before, how you pass that ability over to another character. How did they do that? So I came up with the idea of, like, you know how they usually have like different powers before bosses that you can choose from? Have elements there too, so you can mix and match.
That makes a lot of sense, especially considering that I can imagine that if you're for a puzzle in any given world, like if you need the specific combination of, say, Yo-Yo and a Spark, like, it would be a little bit annoying if you didn't happen to have a Spark friend with you. And Kirby, the last few Kirby games specifically, have been very good about giving you all the powers you need to solve any puzzle in that given level. Some of the earlier ones were not as good about that, but the newer ones have been very good about that. So having a way to just augment your, like, having like a little I don't know, like a little ice cloud somewhere where you could just walk into it and upgrade your sword to ice sword or whatever, I think would make a lot of sense, and I would be surprised if there wasn't something like that in the game at any given point.
It's looking just fantastic. I cannot wait to play it, and fingers crossed it has online. That'd be nice. I doubt it, but
no, as much as I would love it, I don't think it'll happen.
I was surprised Battle Royale has it, so that's
yeah, good point.
Baby steps.
Baby steps. We'll hopefully get something, but
you know, it's not like people have been asking for this since like 2009 when New Super Mario Brothers Wii came out.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Oh well. Well, we haven't mentioned him yet, but thoughts on Buff Dedede?
I love him.
Complete husband material right there. That's it. It's just nothing can top it.
I can't wait to spend $40 on shipping for the plushes of him that will only be sold in Japan.
Oh my god, that'd be amazing.
Oh my gosh.
I'm gonna
work out, buddy.
Spend $100 on a Buff Dedede plush because I'm a sheep and I will do that. Also, that boss fight just looks really, really fun. Like, am I the only person who thought Donkey Kong when I saw him swinging on the poles and with his obnoxiously long arms?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that boss fight, it looks really, really fun and different from almost every... Like, honestly, I can imagine that boss fight giving me the same sort of giddy feeling I felt when in Triple Deluxe, Dedede drops his hammer and picks up an axe. It's like, okay, you're fighting Dedede, but in a way you've never done that before. It's just going to be really, really cool.
Yeah, and that's absolutely the case here. I even like being separated by those pillars that you have to break through in order to just hit them. And also, like, leaving that ice, but like, again, we see how the elements can help you out because Poppy Brothers Jr. was throwing ice bombs that were creating these ice walls that Dedede ran into and did some minor damage to it. So I like the tactics at play there about how you can still damage him even though he's swinging around like a madman.
I'm totally expecting like a phase 1 of the fight to be the standard Dedede fight, but that phase, what I'm assuming is a phase 2, is going to be awesome.
Oh, if it kicks in with the Sweet Masked Dedede remix, that'll seal the deal.
Oh, you know what? That's actually something we haven't really heard much of the music for this game. One thing that I'm hoping for is that we get a full, like, I'm gonna say live orchestra, but that doesn't mean it needs to have an orchestrated soundtrack. Real live instruments. I love the Kirby series, but since this is technically the first console game we've had since Return to Dreamland, I think it would be really, really nice to have a bump up in presentation for the music and have like a full live band to play everything. Because, you know, a Dedede's theme remix, like played with like live trumpets and strings.
I mean, they do have that musical tour going on right now with Kirby. So
oh yeah, and there aren't any good rips of the soundtrack on YouTube yet, which makes me very, very sad. So if they were to get like a full jazz band or something for the music for this game, I would die. It would be fantastic.
I'd be totally for it. I mean, the thing is, I wouldn't be surprised if it had a slightly higher budget than other Kirby games, just because, if I remember correctly, the last few Kirby games have been selling extremely well, and Kirby has sort of positioned himself as one of the like top tier Nintendo franchises anymore. Like, it's ridiculous how much his standing has really just rose up over the years.
You know, if you were to ask someone 10 years ago what the top 3 Nintendo franchises are, they'd probably say Mario, Zelda, Metroid, but honestly, I think Kirby's kind of knocked Samus off a cliff a little bit and taken that
crazy.
place. Yeah.
Kirby was always such a middle road, like back in the DS days, it's like, yeah, we'll make a Kirby game, I guess. And now it's like, we'll make a Kirby game and it's going to be really, really good.
Yeah.
And then we're going to top that. And then we're going to top that.
Yeah, just consist. It's crazy.
I love this little pink guy.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome. Well, any other thoughts on either Battle Royale or Star Allies?
Everybody vote Circus and get Circus into Battle Royale because it's amazing.
Mirror's the best.
Excuse me, but does Mirror Kirby throw juggling bowling pins that are on fire? No.
No, because Mirror's good.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah. Debate in the comments below. Which power do you want to see in Battle Royale?
Light Kirby.
Light Kirby, yeah.
There you go. Light Kirby. Alright, I think that covers it for our Kirby discussion. So thank you for watching. And if you like this video, be sure to like us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. And AntDude, where can we find you at?
Well, just that name. You could find me as AntDude, I believe 92, on both YouTube and Twitter. I make a lot of gaming sort of review kind of videos. I've done games like Sonic, Kingdom Hearts, but I've also made videos on every single Kirby game, so if you like Kirby, you can maybe check me out, I guess. That'd be kind of cool.
Just a little bit. And what about you, Ted? Yeah. What about you, Ted?
Well, anyway, I'm a member of Brain Scratch Comms. We've done We've done commentaries on a number of Kirby games. So if you're interested in those, we love the series and we'd appreciate it if you check that out.
Awesome. And of course, make sure to subscribe to GameXplain for more on Kirby and other things gaming as well. Until next time, bye.